Welcome to Terran Tales, where stories of love, loss, betrayal, and redemption come to life. Every tale carries a twist, and every twist leaves a lesson. Sit back and dive into the stories that hit where it hurts and heal where it matters. The first time she said, "I want more," I was home on a rare 3-day weekend, still smelling like CLP and dust, flipping a burger with one hand and holding our daughter's sippy cup with the other. The TV was on low, the base housing AC clicking like it always did, and my wife, Ava, leaned against the doorway with a glass of red like she was trying out a line she'd rehearsed. "More what?" I asked, half a smile, half exhausted. I just rotated back from a training cycle that chewed up evenings like sunflower seeds. "More life," she said, stretching the word. "I'm 32. I don't want to be stuck." I glanced at the calendar where I'd blocked off her birthday weekend with fat blue marker. "We're not stuck. We're building. I want to travel. Nicer things. A different house. A car that doesn't sound like it's coughing. I want to feel like I'm not last." Last to what? Last to the mission? Last to the schedule? Last to the uniform? It wasn't cruel. It wasn't even loud. It was neat, like a rolled-up flag. When you've taken enough briefings, you can feel the moment the objective changes. The air moves with it. That night it moved. We put our daughter Maya down. I wiped the counter. Ava scrolled through her phone with the gold case. The burner smell from the burgers lingered, and the lights hummed, and I kept hearing that word, more. "Let's take a trip," I said, reaching for the place where a fix is supposed to live. "I'll put in for leave." She shook her head. "It's not a trip, it's a different life." I didn't have a word for the sound something makes when it cracks but doesn't break. If you've ever tapped a plate too hard in the sink, that sound. A hairline doom you can't see unless you tilt it into the light. We went to bed. She faced the window. I faced the wall. In the dark, base traffic thinned to nothing but a motorcycle that wouldn't quit. I counted the gaps in the blinds like they were seconds. I told myself everything could be carried. I'd carried heavier. I had no idea what was coming. 3 months later, she handed me the envelope like it was a receipt for a dinner we'd agreed to split. "I filed today," she said. "It's the cleanest way." My hands did that thing where they got quiet, even when my brain got loud. I opened the packet on the kitchen table and saw my name split by black bars and paragraphs that tried to explain the shape of us to a stranger in a robe. Her attorney had typed phrases like primary custodian, marital residence, equitable division, and then the list: house, car, half my retirement, child support, alimony, legal fees. "Everything?" I asked, the word coming out with a laugh I didn't mean. "It's standard," she said, chin sturdy, eyes glassy. "My lawyer said it's how we start." "How you start?" I repeated. "There are rhythms you learn in the service. Countdown timers, exfil windows, the math of weight versus fuel. Divorce has its own math. What it costs to be done, what it costs to become something else. I served too," she said, as if reading my thoughts. "I served this family, the nights alone, the birthdays you missed, the funerals you couldn't attend." "I know, I never said you didn't." She softened. "You're a good dad." "This isn't about that. It's about me not disappearing. By making me disappear." She turned away. "I don't want to fight." I looked at our fridge magnets. Maya's crayon sun, a postcard from El Paso, a crooked save the date from someone who'd moved on. The envelope stuck to my palm like a hot object. In the military, they teach you to orient, decide, act. I oriented. The paperwork was real. I decided I would not light the house with anger. I acted. I found a quiet lawyer with a square jaw and a white legal pad who asked me questions like they were knots he could untie. Temporary orders came fast. She got the house. I got a 2-bedroom off-post that smelled like someone else's life. Support drained my account every 1st and 15th like a siphon. I told Maya it was an adventure apartment. She nodded. 5 years old and already good at adapting to maps she hadn't drawn. At night, I folded uniforms on the cheap couch and tried to make peace with the way the world had decided which of us looked more like stable, primary, continuity. The court wants quiet. The court wants proof. I learned to keep both. It started like weather, subtle, then obvious. Ava's Instagram filled with rooftop angles and brunch plates that looked like paintings. Hashtags bloomed like spring. Friends I didn't know appeared with white teeth and glossy tans. She bought a car on a lease with a badge you could see from space. She posted captions about choosing joy and soft life. I scrolled them at 0200 after inventory, holding my phone like it was a flare. Our custody schedule was clean on paper. In practice, she traded days like they were chips at a table. There's a yoga retreat, she'd text. Can we swap? Maya has a brand collab shoot, she'd add, which turned out to be her friend's Etsy store and a ring light in our old living room. I didn't argue, I documented. My lawyer used a yellow highlighter until the ink went thin. Don't blow up, he said. Courts love consistency. Give them logs, not speeches. So I logged. Pickups delayed by 2 hours, drop-offs canceled last minute, with a selfie and an apology emoji. Receipts for things I bought twice because she forgot. Winter boots, EpiPens, a science fair board. I learned to screenshot like it was a reflex. On base, people said the usual things. Hang in there, brother. Head down, eyes up. My CO squeezed my shoulder on a Friday and said, "You're in a fight. Fight clean." I went to mental health and talked about sleep hygiene. I ran until my knees argued. I learned the names of the kids in Maya's class and the way the assistant principal tilted her head when she meant, "We need to talk." One evening, midweek, I got a call from the school nurse. Maya has a fever and no one's answering at home. I left a forklift of tasks humming in the motor pool and drove with my jaw locked. Ava texted back 2 hours later with a sparkle gif and, "Phone died, sorry," like the words could blot out a thermometer. "Don't engage," my lawyer said, dragging the yellow across another printout. I nodded. I wrote it down. I packed a bag for the next time the storm stood up. You can hold steady until the floor shifts under you. For me, it was a Saturday in March, the sky the color of an old bruise, the kind of wind that knocks signs over. A neighbor from the old block called, "Man, I don't want to be in this, but you should come by." When I pulled up, 2 squad cars idled at the curb. Blue lights made the whole street look like it was underwater. Maya sat on the front stoop with a blanket and a cartoon sticker on her hand, swinging her legs. Brave like kids learn to be in front of strangers. A young officer stood nearby, writing slow. "What happened?" I asked, too calm. The neighbor glanced at the door. She went out, said her sister was inside. I didn't see anyone. Kitchen timer started screaming. Smoke. We banged until the dog woke up. The officer cleared his throat. "We found a pan on high. Kiddo did great. Called 911. He smiled at Maya with genuine warmth. "Future dispatcher right here." Ava arrived 15 minutes later with wet hair and a breath mint, face made for apologizing. "I was gone 20 minutes, she said, palms out. Her aunt was late. The aunt texted me later. "I never agreed to that. Sorry you got dragged into it." CPS opened a file. Temporary orders shifted a half-inch. The judge said safety and structure and gave me weekdays. Ava cried in the hallway, in a way that made strangers hand her tissues. On the sidewalk, she composed herself and posted a photo of Maya's braid with a caption about resilience. I didn't post. I packed Maya's favorite stuffed fox. I showed up earlier and earlier to school and learned to braid better. 2 weeks later, Ava was pulled over for a rolling stop and blew a .06. Not drunk, but far from smart with a child seat in the back. Her lawyer called mine and told him how unfair it was to bring it up. My lawyer said, "We're not bringing anything up, we're putting everything down." The yellow marker squeaked. Relentless. Something about that month flipped the magnet. Her friends, our mutuals, stopped repeating her narrations back to me. The PTA mom with the planner whispered, "You're always here." The assistant principal emailed, "Maya's been a joy." The judge wrote in 12-point font, "Father's home is primary residence for school purposes." The day I moved Maya's dresser into my apartment, she clapped at the top drawer like it was a reveal. "My socks live here now," she announced, and I understood that a home can be a quiet hallway with construction paper art and a bent nightlight that looks like the moon. The turn didn't come all at once. It came in tells. A missed insurance payment that showed up as a stack of mail with red stamps when I picked Maya up. A story about a business opportunity that sank like a stone because the math was wrong from the first digit. A video she posted of Sunday self-care, shot in a hotel bathroom while Maya asked off-camera when they were going home. Ava's lawyer filed motions draped in adjectives, controlling, punitive, uncooperative, and the judge answered with nouns, calendar, receipts, compliance. Every hearing was an inventory. Every inventory was a ledger of who did what, when, with whose child. Then there was the truck. I keep the 2008 Tacoma like a prayer candle. It's the truck I drove to my first duty station and the one I drove back from 2 deployments later. My dad helped me swap the timing belt in his driveway. I keep the title in a fireproof box with a birth certificate and a handful of medals wrapped in bubble wrap because it's not the medal that matters, it's what it took to earn it. A letter came from the DMV that said, "Transfer processed." I read it 3 times before my brain accepted the words belonged to my life. Someone had sold my truck. The signature on the bill of sale looked like mine if you squinted through a hurricane. The notary stamp belonged to a guy who had a Yelp page with 3 stars and reviews that used the word shady so many times the font looked greasy. "Don't say a word to her," my lawyer said. "Just file the report." We filed. The detective used a voice like a back porch and asked kind questions. The notary lost his stamp. The buyer returned the keys because he didn't like the taste of felonies. The judge read the police report. The judge stared at Ava like she'd just admitted she set off fireworks in the courtroom. "Supervised visits, for now," he said. "Reimburse the value," he said. "Stay off Dad's property," he said. On the drive home, Maya fell asleep in the back seat, clutching her fox and mumbling about fractions. I watched her in the rear view and made a promise I could keep. Every ledger would lean toward her. Ava tried to pivot. She posted a tearful story about narcissistic abuse that 100 acquaintances sent me screenshots of with captions like, "You okay?" and "This about you?" She called my CO, which is a thing you can do if you want to turn your life into a mess in under a minute, and left a voicemail that started with, "You don't know who he really is." I sat down with my commander, explained with the patient tone you reserve for landmine disposal, and handed over a binder. He nodded, flipped through pages and said, "Focus on your kid. We've got your 6. The business opportunity metastasized into debt. She took cash advances to look like success. She moved apartments twice in 3 months and called it manifesting a better zip code. Her boyfriend, one of them, tagged her in a photo with a bottle with fireworks in it, and I heard the CPS caseworker sigh over the phone in a way that sounded like a box being checked. The turning point was the field trip. Maya's class was going to the planetarium. I was on the roster to chaperone. At 07:10, I got a text from Ava. "I'll take her. We need time." At 08:500, the teacher called. "She never arrived. Is Maya with you?" I was in the motor pool, 3/8 wrench in my hand, a new private staring at me like I could stop the earth. I left him with the wrench and a whispered, "Tighten, not loosen," and drove with my whole body clenched. Ava's phone went straight to voicemail. Her Instagram showed a story posted 30 minutes earlier of a latte art heart. I found them at a salon. Maya sat in a cape with little stars on it, while a woman with kind eyes trimmed her bangs. Ava looked up, annoyed that the world had arrived where she was. She needed a self-esteem day, she said. "The stars are for the planetarium," Maya whispered, noticing the number my jaw I couldn't lower. 2 hours later, the judge looked tired of all of us. "This is not complicated," he said. "Children go where they are supposed to go. Fathers and mothers deliver them there on time. We are done making this hard." Custody shifted. "Not forever," the judge said. "For now. Show me change." Ava cried in the hallway without makeup. No one handed her a tissue this time. The courthouse custodian pushed his cart by us and didn't look up. There is a boring heroism to packing lunches at 05:45 that never makes it into movies. Peanut butter on the left bread, jelly on the right, edges sealed like a treaty. There is a quiet joy in math homework done at the kitchen table with a pencil that always has a point because you keep the sharpener where the old you would have kept a bottle opener. Maya made the apartment hers by accident. Stickers on the bathroom mirror, dandelions in a chip mug, a sock graveyard under the couch. I traded the temporary couch for a real one and bought a rug that didn't try too hard. We learned the names of the librarians. We ate too much cereal and then learned how to make the kind of scrambled eggs that don't squeak. My unit promoted me. Not for surviving a divorce, obviously, but it felt like the universe acknowledging I could juggle a chainsaw and an egg without breaking either. We started Saturday hikes. She named the rocks and gave them jobs. I started writing again. Not in a way that anyone would pay for, but as a way of keeping my head on straight. Lists of gratitude that didn't sound like lies. Her laugh, tires that pass inspection, a neighbor who mows between our yards without making it a thing. Supervised visits became unsupervised afternoons. Ava showed up more. She learned the name of Maya's science teacher. She paused before posting. Sometimes she left her phone in the car and came back from the park with grass stains, which counts more than most people will admit. Other times she arrived in a halo of excuses and wanted to try again tomorrow. I brought it all to the judge without adjectives. The judge nodded. Progress is not a straight line, he said, but it is a line. Keep it moving forward. At night, after Maya fell asleep, I'd stand at the window and watch the base lights blink out and imagine a version of my life that was just this: clear, simple, breathable. I almost believed it. There is a shelf everyone builds for their breaking. Some keep it in their living room. Some keep it behind their eyes. Ava kept hers on the edge of a cliff and called it a stage. The brand deal that never was came due. Creditors don't care about energy. The boyfriend left with a box of shoes he said were gifts. The car with the badge went back on a flatbed like an animal going to a different zoo. A landlord posted a notice. She called me at 22:40 and said, "Can I stay on your couch?" The silence between us was not anger. It was a ledger closing. "There's a shelter," I said, voice steady, "and a church that runs a program. I can send numbers. You can see Maya Saturday at 10. "You're a monster," she said, the word tired, like a coin that's been passed around too long. "I'm a boundary," I said. "Monsters don't tell you where they are." She didn't like that. People rarely do, but boundaries don't ask for applause. They ask for practice. A month later, she stood in court without an attorney. The judge lowered his voice. "Ma'am, you wanted everything in March," he said. "In August, you have nothing. The goal is not punishment. The goal is sustainability. Give me a plan." She had slogans. The judge had an order. Primary custody remains with father. Mother's visitation per schedule. Contingent on sobriety and stable housing. Financial claims dismissed without prejudice. Property claims resolved. She looked at me as if I'd stolen something. I had, the version of me who begged. "He's buried under a small tree that gets good light." On the way out, she said, "You win." "I get to parent," I said. Winning is something else. I always thought losing everything sounded cinematic. Pawn shops, bags on the curb, a final speech in the rain. In real life, it's quieter. It's unopened mail. It's a phone that no longer lights up because the bill didn't get paid. It's the hum of a refrigerator in a place that isn't yours. Ava found a small apartment a bus ride away with a kitchen that looked like an apology. She got a part-time job at a front desk where she smiled for 8 hours and learned the names of people who slid their cards across laminate counters. She sent me screenshots of meetings with a counselor. She brought Maya back on time 4 Saturdays in a row. "Good job," I texted. "Don't pat me on the head," she snapped back, and I deserve that. "This is me noticing," I replied, not grading. We learned to do exchanges without opening old doors. We learned to speak to each other like co-workers in a company we didn't choose. We learned that Maya notices everything and forgives what makes sense. She started soccer. I learned the culture of tiny shin guards and collapsing folding chairs. Ava showed up with Capri Suns and didn't shout from the sidelines. That felt like a miracle. One night, after a game where every kid looked like a broken sprinkler, Maya asked from the back seat, "Are we still a family?" "Yes," I said, "just a different shape." "What shape?" "Like a river," I said. "It keeps going. It just found a new path." At home, I tucked her in and sat on the floor until her breath went heavy. I texted a buddy from my first unit who'd told me once, drunk and wise, "Pain builds you like a gym. Don't skip leg day." I sent him a picture of the living room with the stickers on the mirror and the rug that didn't try too hard, and wrote, "Still here." He replied with a gif of a man flipping a pancake with too much confidence. It landed on his face. We both laughed in our separate rooms. 2 years is not forever, but it's a long time if you count it by school drop-offs and shoe sizes. Maya lost 2 teeth and learned to whistle. I took a job instructing new recruits and discovered I like explaining things that used to live in muscle memory. Don't confuse loud for strong, I tell them. Quiet is where your aim lives. Ava relapsed once, and we did the routine. Pause visits, rebuild trust, reset. She posted less, she called more. Sometimes she cried in the car and let me hear it. Sometimes she made a cake with too much frosting and let Maya decorate it like a parade. Loss carved her down to the parts that could hold still. She did not lose everything, I could have made sure of it, if I'd wanted to be that kind of man. She lost the things she grabbed at. House, car, claims. She kept the one thing that matters besides breath. A chance. She takes it. Most days. On a Sunday that smelled like rain and laundry, I sat on the tailgate of the Tacoma and watched Maya teach a neighbor kid how to throw a spiral. The sun snagged on the edges of the buildings like a cuff on a nail, and I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Not victory, not relief. Room. The kind of room you only notice when a storm has finally walked off and left your yard alone. Ava texted, "Can I come to the school concert Thursday?" "Yes," I wrote. 6:30, gym. She sent a heart. Not the flashy one, the plain red dot. Later, I opened the fireproof box and checked the papers the way you check a compass even when you know the route. Birth certificate, insurance, the deed to nothing except the choices I get to make every day. The metal still wrapped in bubble wrap, dull brass that remembers shine. The title to the truck, my dad's handwriting and a note paper clipped to it, "Proud of you, change the oil." I put it all back and locked the box and turned the lights off and sat in the dark, not to be sad, but because quiet is sacred if you live long enough without it. Here is what I know. I served my country and my family. Those vows weren't competing missions. She wanted more without offering more. When the math finally balanced, it did it the way math always does, without mercy, without malice, with simple totals. Courts tally, friends fade or stay, money goes where it's told. Love, if you let it, finds a shape that can hold a kid's backpack and a lunchbox and a stuffed fox that's going bald. People say she lost everything. It isn't true. She lost ownership of a story she tried to write alone. She lost a grip that was choking both of us. She lost the luxury of pretending choices don't count. And I didn't win. I learned to keep a ledger without weaponizing it, to build a home with patience and good coffee, to be the one who shows up and keeps showing up, even when no one claps. On Thursday at 6:30, the gym smells like crayons and old varnish. The kids sing too loud, which is the only way to sing and mean it. Maya waves like she discovered waving. Ava sits on the end of the row with her hands folded and her mascara behaving. After we take a photo that is imperfect and important, I send it to my CO, who pretends not to tear up because he is a kind man, and because the world is heavy, and because sometimes the mission is simply this: carry what's yours. Put down what isn't, keep moving. Thanks for watching Terran Tales. If this story moved you, remember to like, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more. Your next unforgettable tale is just one click away.